Concrete beam, video 6, calculation in the serviceability limit state. We now want to check the beam in the serviceability limit state with respect to crack widths and deflections. We then select Calculate Serviceability Limit State. When the calculation, which now is made iteratively with regard to how the beam cracks, is completed, deflection curves are shown graphically. The red curve is then deflection for long-time load and the blue for total load. As comparison, also a black curve is displayed, representing the elastic deflection of the total load, thus without regard to cracking. We see that span 2 gets the maximum deflections and is 13.67 mm for long time and 17.02 mm for total load. Numerical SLS results are obtained under tables serviceability limit state. Tables are available for total load and long-term load. This table shows maximum deflections and maximum crack widths. We see in this case that the crack width is 0.34 mm for total load and 0.28 mm for long-time load at the top end at support 2. Further on, with detailed results, one can follow which section that cracks and ends up in stadium 2, and how compression zone height, moment of inertia, crack moment, and crack widths vary along the span. For conditions where the code requires a certain crack width, also this value is shown here. Finally, there is a table for deflections. Where positive and negative deflections are displayed in a number of sections along the beam. Now, if the crack width and or deflections are such that they cannot be accepted, there is also an opportunity to design in the serviceability state. Maximum crack width is, as we saw earlier, 0.34 mm for total load and 0.28 mm for long-term load. Since the long-term load keeps the cracks open constantly, we want to limit the crack width to a maximum of 0.2 mm with regard to the risk of corrosion of the reinforcement. We then again shows input, serviceability state, but this time design options. We now select crack width limitation, which can be performed in two ways with respect to the permissible crack widths according to the code or with respect to a user-defined value. We select the latter with a value of 0.2 mm for long-time load. We are in this case not interested in limiting the crack width with respect to total load, and therefore we keep the default value 1.0 mm. We now perform a new calculation in the serviceability limit state and study the maximum crack widths. We now see that the maximum value is 0.2 mm, as was requested. To see how the reinforcement is increased to achieve this, we select Reinforcement Layout again and see that the top reinforcement at support 2 has increased from 10 to 14 bars, and at support 3 from 11 to 15 bars.